You're in the mix.
SKM presents Strictly for the Music Podcast. You are now live with the #1 podcast for all upcoming artists worldwide.
It's the real
deal. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode. This is Strictly for the Music Podcast. I'm your host, DJ SKN. The next guest appearance I got is from two musicians who've been doing music since over 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, they debut album, Road to Nowhere. They starred in a documentary, cover band. With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest appearance is NightWind.
Hey, man.
What's up?
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to Strictly for the Music Podcast. This is a blessing and an honor to have you both talented musicians coming through from different sides of the map. So let's get into the first question. How did you guys start making music, and tell me how that all came upon?
You want to go first, Jerry?
Go ahead, man.
My dad was a musician, Country Johnny Mathis, and so I grew up watching him play and sing as a little kid, and decided I wanted a guitar for Christmas one year, and it just went on from there. He taught me how to play guitar, and I just just kept progressing. The thing about him, he wouldn't let me play lead guitar for years. I had to play rhythm in the family band, and so that gave me a good solid foundation. That's kind of where I got started.
You want to elaborate on that, Jerry?
Yeah, man. I kind of got started. I guess it was just in my blood. My grandfather, my dad, my grandma, they all played music, so it was just in my blood. I got my first guitar when I was about 8 years old, and been playing ever since. And then when I ran across Bill about 20 years ago, man, him and I just had this chemistry that no other people had, and we've been playing ever since together.
That's amazing, man. So, Bill, let me ask you this. What is it like to be growing up in a music family, man?
One of the things that I remember about it is you kind of get used to being around well-known artists, so you have a different viewpoint about it. You know how fans are. You're starstruck, but I grew up being around people like Loretta Lynn and George Jones and Johnny Paycheck and different guys like that, and so they were like normal people to me. So that's kind of how it was growing up with a guy who was in the business.
That's amazing, man. What about you, Jerry?
What's that? I'm sorry, I missed the question.
What was it like growing up being influenced by music from your family?
It's hard to say. I mean, nobody in my family really played except for me. My brother played a little bit. So I was like the only musician, I guess, in my family, really. My stepdad, he played. That's how I actually met Bill, gospel music.
Okay. All
right.
And
then I played with Billy Dean. He's a country music star artist back in Tallahassee, Florida. Then he made it famous and left us.
Okay, man. All right, so let me ask you this: what's one different that makes you guys different from other bands?
Oh, that's an easy one. Our guitar picking together. Bill, I think he's a Brett Mason #2. That dude can play, man. I'm telling you. And, I'll never forget my stepdad used to ask me to go to these gigs with him. He'd say, "Oh, these awesome guitar pickers," and I'd get there and I'd be so bored, and I quit going. And finally, just for some reason, I went this night, and the first time I heard Bill play, man, I thought, "Now that's a guitar picker there, dude." So him and I've been buddies ever since.
And one thing somebody told us once, this bass player we played with once, he was a jackwagon, if I can say it politely. But he said, y'all both play a telly. He said he was wondering how that's going to work. And even though Jerry and I both play a telly, we have different kinds of styles. I kind of play a lot of my style is similar to like the way Glenn Campbell plays. It's like some of it's like a bluegrass electric style. And then Jerry always makes his sound a little bit of distortion, a little different sound. So it worked really good together. To me, it's a unique sound.
Yeah, we actually got named as the guitar picking band.
All right, man. All right, so let's start off with the catalog, man. Debut album, Road to Nowhere. How did this project come upon, and what year did it debut in?
Was it 2016 or 17, Jerry?
I think it was 16. Yes, 2016.
Yeah, we what happened, you know, I had up until that point, Jerry and I had picked some, but we had, it was mostly in church when we got together. And so Jerry had started playing professionally again and was putting a band together. When he first did it, he asked me about it, and just the circumstances, I didn't join in, but I ended up going through a divorce. And when that happened, you know, I just decided, you know, I was going to, you know, start doing some things like that. And Jerry made the offer again, and we got to playing. But through that divorce, you know, I kind of started writing again. I've always wrote Christian songs and country songs. I've done that since I was a kid. Co-wrote my first song with my father when I was 7, 8 years old. And I just started writing music, and we started putting those songs in the band, and then decided to do that project. And I thought it turned out really good. It really shows the different I don't know what the word would be, like the personality of our band, the different types of music. It's not just like totally in one gear. You know, there's some slow ballads, there's some rocking songs, some good country, you know, rockabilly type songs. It's just like a lot of different. If you like country music, it's a lot of different available on that project.
All right, man. So, let me ask you this, man. You said that you were 6 years old when you got your first check from BMI.
Yeah, man. It was only like $1.65.
Wow, man, that's amazing. So let me ask you this, man. Can you elaborate on "I Like You Better When You're Sinning"?
You want to know that story?
I didn't tell him, Bill.
Okay. So I've been married twice, and I got 2 sons by my first wife, and so she had asked me to come help her move of some furniture, and it, you know, if you're not really from the South, some of this stuff may seem, you may have never heard of this type of stuff. I don't know, but anyway, there's a certain type of church in the South where the women only wear dresses, and they don't wear pants or shorts or anything like that. And so I had went to help my ex-wife, and she goes to a church like that. And she had her dress on when we went to that lady's house to pick that furniture up. But when she come home, she put her shorts on, and I looked at her and said, "I like you better when you're sinning." and then it just like the songwriter went off in my mind, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna write that."
Wow.
It was a big hit, man.
So I just took the thought of "I like you better when you sin," and that's not an original concept, but it was kind of my way of writing it, you know.
Okay, so let me ask you this: around this time, when you were doing this album, is this when you found out about Pro Tools?
No,
Actually, Go ahead, Jerry.
I said how we found out about Pro Tools is the one thing I knew I was gonna miss when I took this job was the band, and I still miss the band. I miss playing with Bill, but I still wanted to figure out a way that him and I could still play, and that's how I ran across Pro Tools, because we can collaborate. It's not it's not the same as playing live together, but Bill also flies up to my house at least once or twice a year.
Yeah, we did some gigs in El Paso and some gigs in Houston the last few years. Steady guys.
All right, man. So let me ask you this: what's one of the songs that you guys done a cover to that inspired you guys as a band?
Well, Jerry knows me. I'm like an Elvis fanatic, and we one song that I've always loved doing. The drummer, I just talked to our drummer recently in the last few days. He was laughing because he's got this this one part of the song where he does this arrangement with the cymbals, and he laughs. He was looking at a video of it recently about my reaction, but the song, I don't know if you remember Elvis, that country song "Promised Land" that he did, and so that's one that really I always liked that we did. What about you, Jerry?
Well, I missed the second half of the question.
What's one cover song that you guys done that inspired the band?
Oh, well, my favorite song to do with Bill, I guess, would be "Steel Guitar Rag," because we don't play it with skill, and we got our own style of doing it. And I always loved doing that with Bill. I guarantee you we do it like no other band's ever done it.
That's amazing, man.
That's an instrumental too, so that's just all guitar.
All right, man. So let's go into the next song off the album, Carolina.
That song, after my last divorce, I reconnected with a childhood girlfriend of mine. We were probably 13 or 14 when I knew her, and she lived in North Carolina. And so when I reconnected, I wrote that song, believe it or not, without any music. I was riding down the interstate and wrote that song in about 10 or 15 minutes after I'd reconnected with her. Back in when I was a kid, I had written several songs for her, as usually a songwriter will do when he falls in love with somebody. He's going to write songs for her. When he breaks up, he's going to write songs about it. So I wrote that song Carolina, and it really I don't know, that was a song that always seemed, that was one we performed in the gigs, and that always seemed to get a response from somebody in the audience. They really liked that song. And another interesting side note about the friend in North Carolina, this is the power of music too, man. I wrote a song for her when I was a teenager, and I had put it on a cassette tape, if anybody still knows what that is. And I put it on a cassette tape. I didn't realize she had saved that tape. And the first marriage she was in was an abusive relationship. And she told me how she had held on to that cassette tape, and she had to hide it from her husband. But she said, going through all of that for years, she would get that tape out and listen to me sing that song to her. And it was like an amazing thing listening to her tell that your music had helped somebody through some type of difficult, hard time they were going through.
That's amazing, man.
That's kind of where Carolina comes from.
All right, man. So let me ask you this, man. That's the thing about love. That's the thing about love.
I love that song. Actually, my middle child, my son Austin, actually kind of helped me write that song. What had happened? My oldest son was in college, and he liked this girl. This is the story as old as time. And his friend liked the girl also. But So the girl didn't like the friend. She liked my son, and he's married to her now. So I got to thinking about that and just come up with that idea. That's the thing about love. If she don't love you, there ain't nothing you can do.
That's one, man. Wow. All right, man. So we're going to lead down to the I guess I would say the single off the album, Road to Nowhere, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's a song that I guess everybody probably finds themselves in a place in life when nobody's life is perfect. We're all gonna go through things that's gonna punch us in the gut and leave us feeling just like you wonder what you're gonna do next. And I got to thinking, I was sitting on the patio one Sunday morning, and just that melody and those lyrics that started coming to me, and there's one line in particular, and this is an interesting story about that song. There's one line in particular in that song where it talks about they say you've got to hold on to the things that matter most, but everything that matters to me is just the shadow of a ghost. And so through the divorce that I went through, and I mean, I love this woman, and and that's a whole story in itself, everything that I went through. But I really loved her, and so everything that happened and what we went through, it just pretty much just about destroyed me. But I ended up having custody pretty much of our daughter. She's almost 14 now. But so my daughter was listening to that song one day, and she looked up at me and she said, "Dad, am I the shadow of the ghost?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even realize how profound that line was."
Wow.
And it was like, yeah, I think that's what that line is saying. That's the thing about music, though. Something comes out of your soul, and sometimes you don't even realize what's being said and what's being written like that.
Wow.
But Jerry loves it so. Hey, I got to tell another story about Road to Nowhere, though. That song was so personal and in a ways, so deeply personal to me. Sometimes at a gig, I didn't want to do that song. I didn't want to perform that song, man. We were at a gig one night, and Jerry wanted to do that song. I said, "Man, Jerry, ain't nobody going to listen to that song. That's a sad song." And Jerry said, "No, let's do it." And it was like there was people out on the dance floor dancing, slow dancing to that song, and I was really surprised at the response that it got.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, man. Because it was one of those gigs that was just hard to get people up to dance. And I said, they'll do that song. He said, I don't think that'll go over too good, man. And then when he did it, the dance floor packed. It was the first song we packed the dance floor with. And that was probably one of our most requested songs, too.
Yeah.
All right, man. So, next song, If You Should Come Back.
Now that's one I told you in the email that I sent you. There was 2 songs on that project that were written by my dad, and that's one of those that was written by my father back in the 1960s. Charlie Pride had that song. Had 2 cuts in his first album that went gold, and that was one of them that Charlie Pride had done in the 1960s. And there's a demo that was a version of it that was put out. You can find on YouTube where my dad is singing it, and Johnny Paycheck is singing the backup harmony on it. And an interesting side note about the Charlie Pride thing. In one of the last albums Charlie Pride did while he was still living, he ended up doing 2 more of my dad's songs, and my dad had the title cut. So we can, as musicians, we can all only wish to have a career like my father, where your music is still being used at years ago. But yeah, and that one, the little whistle sound in it, me and Terry had nothing to do with that. The sound engineer threw that in there, so that's how the whistle got into the chorus.
That's amazing, man. Trying to live your life and I'll live mine.
That one is the other song. Well, actually, I think there's 3 songs of my dad's, because Make Me One More Memory is my dad's, but that and Try to Live Your Life and I'll Live Mine is another one of my dad's. And it sounds like it's a love song, but I think my dad wrote that song in the late '60s, and it probably had more to do with a lot of the protesting that was going on in the late '60s when he wrote that song.
All right, man. I Was Okay When I Walked Away.
Good song.
Now that song was written from a friend of mine that had a friend of mine from high school. She was telling me about her cousin and a situation that she had gone through, and where she didn't have a great relationship with, I think it was her father, and so they kind of just parted ways before it was over. And so she said she had told her cousin, said, but I was okay when I walked away. And so she had just told me she thought that would be a good song. And typically I like to write because something inspires me, whether it's a sad thing or a happy thing. I typically like to write when something inspires me, but occasionally I have situations like that where I think it's a good idea and somebody gives it to me and I try to write it. So that's that song. And I don't know what come out in me. I didn't, that there's a cuss word in the second verse of that one. I didn't intend on doing that. It just come out. It kind of felt like it was in the moment when I was recording the vocal.
So, hey, jump in here for a minute. So, I'll tell you how Bill's such a good songwriter, man. There's 2 songs that I've asked him. I said, hey, there's 2 songs I'd like for you to write. One was about me and my wife. He nailed it to a T. It blew both of our minds. And then he wrote another song about my job in Canada, which I worked for a huge construction company, and they actually put it on their website. They liked it so much. I couldn't believe Bill. I wish I had that talent to write like he does.
Right. That's amazing, man. Make Me One More Memory.
Yeah, now that's the last song on the project as far as the ones that my dad wrote. And the story behind that song is more than one thing, but he was away recording it in Houston. And his version of it, there's a big, huge gospel group. You know how Elvis used to use the gospel groups? Well, my dad had the Florida Boys singing on it with it, but it was the night I was born, November 11th, 1969. He was in Houston recording. So my mother, at the time, she didn't have a vehicle, so she had to take a cab to the hospital. And that was kind of the story behind Make Me One More Memory. That's also one of the songs that Charlie Pride did in one of the last albums he recorded, Make Me One More Memory. And it's a great song. It's, it's funny how songs are, because I feel like the lyrics to that one, that should have been country, like one of the standards of country music.
Yeah, we just kind of took your dad's songs and just kind of updated them. We didn't change them.
Yeah. All right, man. So let me ask this, man. All right. So the project came out. Is there any music videos that the audience or your supporters can find on maybe a YouTube channel?
Yeah, if they search NightWind, they can find some they're iPhone videos, that type of thing, of gigs that we've done. But if they search for NightWind, and I think just search it as one word, and you can find videos there. But you can also find us we've got about 7,000 followers on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook, search NightWind, but be sure to look for Jerry Jones and Bill Mathis. There may be more than one NightWind in the world. So you search for NightWind, you'll find us. I think it's at NightWind 2015 would be the way to, if you want to search it in the search bar. But you can find a whole lot of videos there. Videos of songs that I've written since that project.
So Danielle just looked it up. The reunion we did, it's under NightWind Band School Reunion.
Okay. All right, so man, let's talk about this documentary on Vimeo. Tell us how this came upon and who directed it.
You there, Bill?
You want to take that?
No, go ahead. I know, Michael, our drummer.
Yeah. Well, I know. I was trying to see if I could remember. I can't remember the guy's name that directed it.
Well, I can't either. He just, asked us could he do a documentary on us, which kind of blew our mind.
Yeah, he was a friend of the drummer. He was a friend of the drummer, and he wanted to do this documentary, and he followed us around. Probably, I would think it was about a month, wasn't it, Jerry?
Oh, at least a month. Went to every gig we did.
Wow.
And the documentary is kind of going with us on this journey. We had been chosen to go to the world famous Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, and it was a tryout to be one of the house bands playing there in Nashville on Broadway, and so the documentary is sort of going along with us on this journey and the gigs we're doing and preparing for that tryout, and it's just it's just a lot of humorous stuff. Really kind of documents what a cover band goes through. One of the funniest scenes to me, we were getting paid one night, and they were giving the money, and it was a lot of $1 bills. And in the scene in the documentary, I made the comment. I said, "This is either the strip club or a church."
Oh man!
But we didn't make it to Tootsie's, and I think we blew them away, Jerry. Don't you?
Oh yeah, we did. They wanted us to come back the next morning at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Wow!
That's what we got. Get it.
We had a bad experience though that we ended up turning them down. How many people turned Tootsie's down?
Yeah, really.
All right, man. All right, so man, besides the documentary and what you guys got going on with the album, do you have any gigs coming up? And what was it like performing for the first time?
You mean as NightWind?
Yes.
Well,
do you remember our first gig, Jerry?
I really don't. I think we did something in Smyrna outside because we were both a lot skinnier and younger. So I don't remember our first gig. But I think it was in Smyrna for something. I'm not sure. We can't remember nothing.
One of the things about doing a cover band like that, it's hard putting together musicians and keeping them together. So me and Jerry and the drummer Michael Frederick, we were kind of the nucleus of the band there for several years. We're trying to put a gig together here in the near future, a corporate event. Now I'm looking forward to if all of that comes through, that we can do that. But kind of I don't know if it was the first time we played, but there was a couple that they were from New Zealand, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
When they got with us, and they worked a lot of the cruise ships. is one of the things they did, but she was keyboard and backup vocals and did some lead, and he was on bass. And when they were with us, we did some gigs that were really good, some private gigs, private parties, that type of thing, and it was really some great chemistry with them. With her being in the band and the way she did keyboard, it kind of changed the dynamics a little bit, but it was still good, you know. And as far as me, you know, as a musician, you try to stay busy. I've been working with other artists here in Nashville. A guy named Billy Lord that was on Atlantic has had some success a few years ago, is doing another project. I've been working with him, and another artist named Kaylee Matthews that's trying to get breakthrough in the business. So you just try to stay busy and, you know, writing songs and working on Pro Tools with Jerry, and hopefully in the future, while me and Jerry's still young enough to do it, we can get out and rock some crowds again.
Yeah.
All right, man. All right. So you said working with different artists and musicians and everything. But is there, I don't know what your goals are right now, but in the future, could the audience, or if not, have you tried jumping on any other musician's music?
Yeah. Can you say that last part again?
Have, like, collaborations? Like, have you jumped on anyone else's albums or songs or singles?
As far as recording, for me, I've had a couple of people that have asked, and I've done I've done some work with my brother. My brother John Mathis is the top person at a company called Mansion Entertainment in Nashville. They've mostly worked in Southern gospel, but they've also done some projects with country artists like T.G. Shepherd and T. Graham Brown, Trick Ponies, some other people. But I've done some studio stuff with him. And as far as collaborating songwriting, I've done that a little bit, but that's never been something, I guess, that I've been comfortable in falling into doing, you know, like other people have.
Okay.
But I'm always willing, you know, if people ask me, I'm always willing to, you know, do whatever I can if what I do fits what they're doing.
Favorite lyrics in a song?
What'd you say?
Favorite lyrics in a song?
Favorite lyrics in a song?
Like you better when you sing it.
Favorite lyrics. You should have told me that question, and I could think about it, because that's a hard one to especially when people ask me favorite songs, because I like so much, and it's hard for me to just pick one thing out. But I probably one of my most favorite lyrics would be a song that my dad wrote. My dad wrote a song that he sold the song. He didn't retain the rights even to keep his name on, but he sold it. It became a mega hit. And and the lyrics of that song is probably it's 8 lines, and the song was in BMI's catalog in the 90s as the top 100 songs of the century. But the line is, "How can you leave without regret? Am I that easy to forget?" That's probably one of my favorite lines in a song. It's just, you know.
My favorite line in the song that you done is, I was headed to Texas to bring her home.
All right.
So Bill wrote my wife a song, and we called it Danielle's song. We're trying to be unique about it, and it's actually on. It's been the top reviewed song on Drupal now for 5 weeks.
Wow. Okay, Jimmy Jones, leading to that question that you just brought up right now, that answer, how did you discover Drupal?
Well, I'm one to get online and try to find different things for Bill and I's music, and we've been on Reverb and Gig Salad, and so I thought, well, I want to see if there's anything out there new that I hadn't messed with, and I ran across it, and so I sent a link to Bill and asked him what he thought about it, and he said, let's go for it. So I guess we've been on it now, what, Bill, 2 months, maybe?
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, Dribble's a good site to network and meet 5 musicians like you guys yourself, man. You know?
Yeah, that's the thing we're dealing with in this day and time. That and my brother's had to deal with it with the entertainment company he runs. The industry has, from the 90s until now, has just completely changed. And you got to be, that social media is one of the main places where you got to be working, you got to be out there, and you got to be connected with people on that platform in all areas that you can find. That's where you're going to find success nowadays.
Yeah, man. Pretty much everything's digital now, and man, you're right. Everything's different from the 90s.
Sure is.
All right, man. So, besides that, man, Drupal, that's a nice platform, man. I love that platform. That's how I discovered Jerry Jones from NightWind. So, with that being said, you said country and a little bit of gospel. Have you guys ever thought about mixing the two?
Yeah, we actually recorded a project. I can't remember when it was, but it's probably over 10 years ago. We did a gospel project that me and my younger brother and Jerry did together. And there was actually a lot of original gospel songs on that one.
Yeah, it was our first. It was a good one, good gospel album. You like Southern gospel?
But pretty much, I guess most of my gospel stuff it's not out there on social media. It's more in hard copy form.
Okay. Do you have any hard copies available?
Yeah, I mean, we can, we're always, if anybody, not that many people ask for it anymore, but, if people want a hard copy of music, we live in a day and time where you can just about do anything.
Yeah. So yeah, we got the platform that we use to get our copyrights and everything. We can get anything we want off of there almost. Hard copies, digital download codes.
All right, man. So let's lead into the good part right here, man. What are your goals and expectations during 2021 leading to 2022?
Mine would be to be able to play live with Bill more than we did last year. That's what I'm hoping.
And you, Bill?
Yeah, I would agree. I'm like that movie Kevin Costner did for Love of the Game. Man, I've always just loved music, and even though I had a father who was had gained a lot of notoriety as an artist and a writer, for me, I love music. I would grow up sitting in a room by myself playing hours at a time, and I just love the feeling of playing, the feeling of writing a good song. But like Jerry said, also performing. There's nothing like performing for a crowd. And, as far as goals, I would like to be able to get out there. And it's fun playing with other artists, but it's not the same. The couple of people that I've named, their music is great. They're writers. I love playing with them. But it's not the same as doing your own thing, and I'd like to be out there doing that, again, preferably me and Jerry, being able to do that again some.
So, there's the song's actually on Drupal too. So Bill wrote a song that was actually something that actually happened to him at a gig. So he called it "We Don't Cover That." if anybody gets a chance, they ought to listen to this song. It's funny, but it really happened to Bill.
It's a true story.
Yeah.
All right, man. So can the audience or your supporters expect any new material leading to 2022?
Yeah, we've got the material. I was telling you earlier, Bill's wrote enough songs. We just got to master them and get them put together, which shouldn't take, I'd say within 2 months we could have another album out there.
Wow, okay. All right, audience, so you have it. NightWind coming out with some new material. Stay tuned. So let me ask you this, man. What's the best advice coming up in the music industry anyone has given you?
Go handle it, Jerry. You want me to go first?
Go ahead. I might even think about that one.
The best advice. Well, I don't know if anybody ever really gave me one piece of advice that I could pass along to somebody else. You know, my foundation come from my father, and my father taught me things about being a professional from that point in time when I was a small child, just little things about being an artist and being professional about it. And, you know, you have to just work hard, you know, develop your craft, your ability, put the time in, you know, one thing, you got to keep dreaming, but you can't have stars in your eyes to the point that you let somebody, you know, whatever, I don't know what the word, you know, kind of take you for a ride, because there's so many people in the industry. You come to places like Nashville, LA, New York, different places like that. There's people out there that all they're looking to do is screw you, and you can't, you know, you gotta pay your dues. You gotta, you know, play the places, take gigs. Sometimes you end up playing to a handful of people. Sometimes you play to a lot of people. But I guess as far as my advice, you just got to put the work in to be able to get to the point of having the fun.
And that's true. You know, I was always told it's not all about fun and glory. There's a lot of hard work that we did putting this band together and doing gigs that I don't think a lot of people realize what we do behind the scenes. And another thing is, and my wife brought up a good point, you got to be able to take constructive criticism in a band. You're not going to please everybody.
Right.
Screw that, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, you talk about the hard work. There's a funny story. We did a gig at a marina. They had the stage, a floating dock stage. So we did this gig at a marina, and I think Jerry pretty much got a light case of heat stroke that night.
Yep.
And in the middle of the gig, Jerry was sitting down, and I looked over at him and I asked him, I said, how about we play Sweet Home Alabama next or something like that? And he looked at me and said, I don't know that song. And I was like, somebody call 911 because something's wrong with Jerry.
Yeah.
But that's the hard work side of it. But it's worth it, though. I think, you know, the feeling of playing music and how music can touch people and make a difference in people's lives. You know, in that one moment you're playing a song for them.
Well, I've got another funny story. So when I had left Bill's first gig that he did with another band, I remember you calling me up the next day and said, dude, I didn't realize how much work it was playing with just one lead player.
Yeah, just one guitar player.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, man. Long as I live.
Yeah, there was one part in the documentary I was watching where Bill said there's not enough alcohol or drugs or better high at that better than playing live.
That's right.
I stand by that to this day. Music, I know I can sound, you know, I don't know how that makes it. I can sound a little bit like a hippie, but that was before my time. But the thing is, to me, music is a spiritual thing, and and I don't mean that in a religious way. I just mean music touches people. Music has brought people out of comas more than once.
Wow.
So there's something about music that, you know, and I've never liked playing in a situation where people want to learn a song exactly like it was performed to cover it. Because I think every time you play that song, it's got a life of its own. I know maybe that sounds crazy, man, but that's what I believe. It's just like there's nothing like in Jerry. That's what I'm talking about. This feeling in the middle of the song, and it may not happen like that in the next gig, but you just get this feeling. You can tell the audience is loving it, and you know, it's like you just live in that moment.
Yeah, man, it's So just the other day, I actually got a message from a guy on Drupal. My wife sang this song called "Roses Will Bloom Again," and apparently he was going through some stuff because he said that he needed to hear that this morning. And he actually added a song to his playlist. So there was something going on in his life, like Bill said, that music ends up touching people.
Exactly. And we don't have the time in this interview to tell all the stories that I could tell about that. Just songs that I've written and performed. I was singing a song in a church in Oklahoma once that I wrote called "I See a Brighter Day," and Jerry likes that song.
Oh yeah, love it.
And there was a lady that was in that service in the back that was going through cancer treatments, and it was just like she come up to me afterwards, and you could tell how much that meant to her. And to me, that's music.
Wow. That's amazing, man. All right, so my last question, man. How, as a band, will the music evolve?
That's going to be hard to answer, Bill.
How is it going to evolve? Well, I don't know. Me and Jerry, we're traditionalists, and you know, the definitions of music, they change through the years. Back in my dad's day, you had a genre called pop music, but back then, pop just meant it was what was popular to everybody, you know, and if it didn't fit a certain category of country or rock and roll, blues or whatever, it was pop music. And Jerry and I, for the most part, we're always going to be that traditional country, and you know, that comes and goes, you know, as far as popularity. But you know, he and I, that's kind of our heritage, the traditional type of country music, and probably, you know, that's, you know, our evolution probably would not be in the music part of it. Hopefully, our evolution would, like I said, be able to get on the road again, or get there and play some live music. Put another project out, you know, do that. And it's about time that the world got some more NightWind music out.
Yeah. I think your phone's breaking up a little bit, Bill.
Yeah, man. All right, so here we go, man. Do you want to give your special shout outs? And is there anything that I didn't mention in the interview that you want to mention now?
Go ahead, Jerry.
I can't think of nothing, man, other, you know, I just like everybody out there to know, man, you know, Bill's like a brother to me. I think he's one talented guy. He always says that I'm his number one fan. Well, I probably am. But most people don't know how talented this guy is. He can play anything you put in his hands and play it well, too. Like I said, I call him, most people know country, they know who Brent Mason is. That's who I call Bill. Brent Mason number 2. Wow. So I miss playing. That's the one thing that I hated about taking this job, man. I knew it was going to happen, and sometimes it's worse than others.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Brent Mason is Alan Jackson's guitar player, by the way. So anybody in your audience that isn't really a country fan. That's who that is. He's a great player too. Same style as kind of as Brad Paisley. But they can find our music on any platform. That particular project, iTunes, Spotify, any of those platforms. Search NightWind Road to Nowhere, and you can check out that product, download it. And again, Facebook at NightWind 2015 2015. You can search for us and follow our page. And hopefully, like I said, Jerry's trying to put a gig together for us in a month or so that'll we'll be able to get something going again together live, and that would be wonderful to be able to do. So just shout out to everybody who loves music, man.
Amen, bro.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Jones, Bill Mathis, NightWind. This is Strictly for the Music Podcast.